What's up, everybody? Well, yesterday, if you were not on the internet, the big thing that exploded was that Matt Reeves released the deleted Joker scene from this year's The Batman, starring Barry Keoghan's version of the Joker. It wasn't something I was originally planning to react to or do a video on, but I had so many people commenting me and messaging me about it that I figured might as well do it, because a lot of people seem to be curious on what my thoughts are on this scene, probably because I had such strong thoughts on the Joker scene that was actually left in the final film. Should go without saying, this is probably a little spoilerific conversation. If you haven't seen The Batman, I don't know why you even clicked on this video, but nonetheless, spoiler alert. So this deleted scene was released yesterday, which we had already heard reports of. Matt Reeves had talked about it pretty shortly after the release of The Batman, when everybody was talking about that scene where they had the laughing inmate talking to the Riddler in the last 5-7 minutes of the movie. And everybody's speculating that it was the Joker. Some people thinking it was Two-Face or maybe even somebody else, but for me it was obviously the Joker. That's the only character that seems like it's contractually obligated for a Batman movie to at least discuss once in the movie. And so during that scene, I had a lot of thoughts on it. It was the only scene in the entire movie that I felt like was a bit superfluous. It felt like it didn't really have a complete purpose in the movie. It felt like something that was just there for the sake of teasing the future. And eventually you heard Matt Reeves release some reports talking about his version of the Joker, talking about him and Barry Keoghan and how they've kind of reinterpreted the character for a very different version of the Joker and what their plans for that scene was, as well as the scene that got deleted. And it got everybody talking, got everybody very curious, because inevitably whenever we have a new version of the Joker, everybody always wants to speculate, find out as much about it, see as many pictures as they can about it. And so now we can watch this entire 5-minute scene where Batman literally at some point in the movie, presumably the second, third act, brings in all of this info that he has gathered so far on the Riddler to the Joker in the Arkham Asylum, and they have a bit of a Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter relationship where he is more or less asking for Joker's opinion. Like, hey, you're fucked up, this guy's fucked up, what's your thoughts? Penny for your thoughts, Joker. And so we've been told by Matt Reeves that this is a pre-Joker Joker. He doesn't go by that moniker yet. He doesn't have like some big gang or some big hold over Gotham just yet. Clearly him and Batman have met before. Clearly they have come to blows before. I don't know if Batman is the reason that he is so facially disfigured to where there is just a lot going on physically with this Joker. He looks like he possibly has been burned in some kind of vat of acids. They've also talked about the smile being a rictus smile, to where it is some form of disease that he's had his entire life where he cannot stop smiling and laughing, and it's kind of fucked with his psyche a little bit. So very different interpretation of the Joker, but a lot of questions about what exactly happened between these two characters before this movie took place. And so there's a line in this scene where Joker says, hey, it's almost our anniversary. So right about the 1-year mark of Batman, or Bruce Wayne's little Batman experiment, something happened with him and the Joker. Either he dumped him into a vat of chemicals, or he at least caught him and threw him into Arkham Asylum. So I do appreciate the fact that they're not spoon-feeding us the origins again. I do like the fact that we are getting this lived-in world in Gotham, and that there's already pre-established rivalries, pre-established relationships, and Batman and Joker is one that I think could work that way, to where we don't need to see the Joker become the Joker and the Batman finding out about the Joker for the first time, and them, you know, having their little tit-for-tat thing that they always do when they first realize that each other are very much two sides of the same coin. And so I like that approach. What I'm still on the fence on is the actual look and the actual approach of this Joker. So ever since Heath Ledger, it seems like every person that comes in to play the Joker just wants to kind of out-crazy Heath Ledger. They want to go farther, they want to look wilder, they want to be more bombastic on screen. Joaquin Phoenix so far is the only person to successfully do that, and I still don't think he's quite as good as what Heath Ledger was, and that's just a personal thing. Jared Leto, I think we can all agree, was just a giant misfire. And this one, while being fair and saying that I don't have enough here to really fully judge, and I will not fully judge until I actually see this version of Joker in action against Batman, or actually be more of a presence throughout the film instead of just one little scene behind fogged glass. But what I have to go on right now, I'm on the fence with it.
You think they deserved it, huh? You think they deserved it.
I think that there's something very creepy and very disturbing about the direction that they're going as far as a facially disfigured Joker. Maybe this is going to eventually be the one like Death in the Family that removes his face and then puts it back on as this dead skin, and you could go really dark and fucked up with that type of Joker. We haven't quite gone that far yet, like this horror character of the Joker. But I'm worried if it's a little too much. I'm worried if it's a little bit too much, because I do like my Joker a little bit more on the subtle side. I do like my Joker to be a little bit more simplistic on the visual representation of the character, not so on the nose like Jared Leto, where everything has to be fucking written for you, damaged, and fucking smiley tattoos and all this other shit. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence with it. I'm still on the fence with the voice and the laugh. It just feels like there's just no punch there just yet. But again, not quite enough to judge. The other thing that's holding me back from it just a little bit is that I do think it's a little bit too soon for a new Joker. I said that before I even saw Matt Reeves' The Batman. I was like, please don't tease the Joker. Please don't reintroduce the Joker by the end of this. Please don't have him turn over a fucking card and tease that for the sequel. We don't need the Joker yet. We don't need the Joker right now. Batman can survive. Batman can have a new franchise. Batman can go 2 or 3 movies without having the Joker be a prominent character. There's so many awesome characters in his rogues gallery. Stop going back to the Joker. So I do like the fact that Matt Reeves doesn't seem hell-bent on making the Joker the main villain anytime soon. He seems to want him to just be this side character or this looming presence, this, pot that's about to boil over 2 or 3 movies from now. And so I appreciate that approach, but time will tell whether or not they stick to that or not. All WB has to say is, no, we're doing the fucking Joker, and that's just what's going to happen. So that's my other reservation about it. Now, as far as this individual scene, where you have Batman talking with the Joker, they have this pre-established rivalry. He's trying to get his take on this guy from a psychotic person's perspective, and the Joker keeps turning the mirror back onto Batman and telling him everything that he doesn't want to hear, but is very true of the character of Batman, that he's a little whacked himself, that he very much kind of fits in with his rogues gallery. He's just the only one that decides to use it for good. And especially this version of Batman that's all vengeance and isn't quite the hero yet, because it's not the end of the film, where the end of the film is very much the beginning of that journey to becoming Gotham's hero. He's turning the mirror on him and like, you kind of agree with the Riddler, right? Like, like all these fucking people that he's killing, like you kind of think that they deserve it. Just admit it. It's just us in here. Just admit it. And so I like that aspect of it. But as an individual scene, I understand 100% why it was cut, because number one, it's a long-ass movie. Number two, if they're not going to focus on the Joker for the next movie, they don't need to tease him with 2 big scenes. And then 3, probably the most important, is that everything that this scene is conveying as far as the character of Batman, as far as how we're supposed to look at this new version of Batman, this early version of Batman, I think that the movie that we got, the theatrical cut, does a perfect job at conveying every single thing that this scene tries to hammer home. So I actually find that the narrative journey that we go on throughout these 5 minutes is actually superfluous. I don't think that it really is necessary. I think that the movie is just fine without it. So I like this individual scene more than I like the individual scene that we actually have in the movie, where you just had the laughing inmate becoming friends with the Riddler and teasing, a rogues gallery for the future. But I do feel like this has less of a place in the movie than that scene, if that makes any sense. If I could take either one of these as just an individual viewing experience, I'll take this Silence of the Lambs style scene every single time. But I don't think it has as much of a place in the movie as the scene that we already have. So that, for the most part, is all of my thoughts on this. I really just hope that they use this Joker in a unique way, to where they're not just going to make him the forefront in the second film going forward. I think that they should do pretty much a larger scale version of what they're doing in this scene. Have Joker be this ticking time bomb inside of Arkham Asylum, starting to get into these villains' heads, like the Riddler, like whoever the Batman fights in the next movie, and assuming that there's maybe a time jump, whatever other villains have ended up inside of Arkham Asylum. Have that relationship that they've established in this scene be explored a bit more in the second film through a number of scenes, and then maybe tease with a post-credit scene or the final act of the second film, the Joker potentially busting out of Arkham Asylum, and establish him as a potential big threat, one of the main threats for the third film. I just don't think that in 14 years, when we've had Joaquin Phoenix, we've had Heath Ledger, we've had basically 2 different versions of Jared Leto, and now Barry Keoghan, I just think that we're in a bit of Joker overexposure, especially if we actually get a sequel to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, which is still completely up in the air. That's even more of a reason to kind of just pump the brakes a little bit on the Joker stuff. But what do you guys think on this scene? What do you think of Barry Keoghan's Joker? The look, the design of the character, the lore of the character, the relationship that's already established with Batman? Do you like the fact that it's already established, or do you want to see everything from the beginning and don't want to be cheated out of that part of the storyline? Do you like this individual scene better than the scene that we actually got in the movie, or do you 100% understand why this was cut and actually agree that it was cut? Let me know all of your thoughts down below, guys, and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video if you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it so much that you want to check out some more of my content, please hit that subscribe button. I've done a lot of Batman content over the past month. I reviewed the new film, I did a spoiler recap review, I ranked the Batmobiles, the actors, the movies, the villains. I've done a lot of Batman stuff, and I'm sure we're going to have lots more Batman content in the future. So please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of that. Thank you guys for watching as always, and remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.